Chris Clark here. Welcome back to my channel. I hope that you guys are having a great day. I hope that you had an excellent Father's Day. I got a little sunburnt, but we had fun with the kids. We actually went out to eat on Saturday to celebrate, and that was fun. And then we spent our Sunday, well, mostly my husband spent our Sunday fixing a play structure. We live in Tornado Alley. A little while back, we had this crazy storm with like tornado level winds. Luckily not a tornado, but our play set did not survive that. And our trampoline flew over our roof and landed in our neighbor's field. Like, it was crazy. So he spent the day building that, and I helped, and I got burnt. It was kind of fitting for Father's Day. He spent his time building something for his kids. It was actually really sweet. So today I'm going to do a little update on disc binding and using a disc bound system with Masterbooks. If you're interested in the actual mechanics of using discs, like how to take your books apart and how to put them on your discs and all of that, I suggest you look at my other video where I go over that. This video is really just going to talk about how we use them now. So initially I was using the expander discs, which are really large, and I could fit like an entire workbook on that. But I found that I didn't like having multiple workbooks still. And that was one thing that I missed about the binder system, is that we had one binder where they could grab and they had all the work that they needed. So we kind of are using the discs like we were using our binders. I'm starting to set up our homeschool shelves, so I'll show you one. Like, each child gets like a locker. It's really just a shelf, but we have these hanging baskets that are for like kitchen cabinets, and that is like their everyday work locker, right? So it has their discs that have math and language on them, and it also has their timeline and their living art lessons art journal. It has a larger set of discs that has all of their completed work from all of their subjects, and a little basket with their readers, their independent readers, and then anything else that they wanted. They might have a couple of their personal pens and pencils or whatever. This is like their space. They can keep things like their number lines that they like to use for math, or a little counting manipulatives. They'll start adding in, the stuff that they need. Each of my kids has 2 sets of discs, a smaller set that holds their work to be done, and a larger disc that holds all of their completed work. So the smaller discs have math and language on them. So I just use the cover of the workbooks for the divider, and there's a little sticky tab on there, and I keep about a quarter's worth of work of each subject on these discs. This is the workbook that they know they need to grab, and they need to get this done every day. And because I'm only taking a quarter's worth off at a time, I am taking my books apart slightly differently than in the last video that I did. So you can see that I cut the cover off, and I use a box cutter, and I cut just the pages that I'm using, about a quarter's worth. I still open the book up and score down the spine. This will make sense if you've seen my other video, but I am more particular about where I'm scoring, and I only score like that quarter's worth, and then I take that chunk off, and I've left the rest of the book intact, and so I separate those, punch those, and put that on the discs. My kids usually take out the pages as they finish them, so at the end of the day, they'll take out whatever they did that day, and we have a little basket next to my desk that they stick it in. And then on Fridays, I generally will file these onto their other discs. My oldest sometimes puts hers on her disc herself, but if she hasn't done it, then I do it. So I take the big set of discs and just what in the subjects, just file it away, and then we have this whole record of what they've done for the year. We live in a state where we don't have to keep records, but I do like to still keep some records. I use the cumulative record from Masterbooks, which I'm going to do a record keeping video, so stay tuned for that. It's nice to have it during the year because sometimes we refer back, so it's nice to have it divided by subject, and if we need to review anything or whatever, we can go and find it. That's how we handle their individual subjects. And then for our group subjects, I have found it easier because we don't do these every day. We alternate, and life gets busy, and sometimes we need to make adjustments. I find that it's easiest if I just hand these pages out as we need them, instead of filing them into their independent workbook and then maybe we don't get to it or whatever. I have a set of discs for each of the teacher guides, and I have compiled multiple teacher guides into one, so there's just duplicate pages. This was tedious up front, but in the long run, I think it saves me a lot of time because I open up the page and I just take out 2 pages, hand them out. My youngest two don't do the worksheets, only my oldest two. And then these just sit on my shelf near my planner, and I just grab them as we need them. So it's super simple. What do I do with the schedules? I picked up this little plastic portfolio of like folders or pockets, and I keep all of the schedules in there. I used to use a binder, but it was a little bit bulky. So I'm trying this out. It's been working pretty good. And it was like a couple dollars at Walmart. I have each of the schedules like stapled into like a packet for that subject, and then they each have their own little pocket that they slide into. I use the schedules like a checklist to fill out my planner. I like to be able to see our whole week, and I like to have like one spot that I'm like checking stuff off of instead of all these different things. Now, I also like having all the schedules in one place because I use them to fill out my planner. So if I left them in the books, then I'd have to pull out all the books. This way, on Fridays after we finish, I pull out my little portfolio and I pull out my planner, and then I just go subject by subject. I'm using the Mardell A Simple Plan planner. I've used this for years. Last year, I used a different planner, just from, I think it's Pretty Simple Press. I got it on Amazon. It was really cheap, like $7 or something. And it worked okay, but I missed having the spiral, being able to flip it back. I missed having an attendance record, and a little bit more space. And like also the Mardell one is lined. The teacher planner was not lined, and so things got a little sloppy. So anyways, I'm back with the Mardell planner. I filled out a sample week. This will actually be our first week back. We're taking a short break here, a couple of weeks. So this is how I fill it out. I've pulled from the schedule where we'll be at from each of our subjects. I find it easiest to color code by child, so I just pick a color for each child. It's not the same all year long, but for that week spread, I make sure that they're all written in the same color. I'll keep track of active things that they've done to sort of have like a list of PE type activities. I love the spread that they have in the Mardell planner right before at the beginning of the month. There's a reading list, and this is where I keep track of everything that we read, all of my read alouds. I don't do the independent readers like what my children are reading. They keep their own book list for that. But for what I read aloud to them, this is where I record that. There's a spot to put, upcoming events or goals, activities, special things that are going to happen, supplies that you might need. So if we have any, crafts or experiments coming up or recipes, I can jot down what I need for that. And that's really helpful. That's how we're using the discs. I hope that you found this helpful. A couple of notes about discs. I get a lot of questions about how they hold up. I let each of my kids create a cover for theirs. You could even buy like the Happy Planner covers. Those would be even sturdier. I didn't want to do that, so we made our own. We used Canva, and like they picked images and put text on there. And then I just laminated them like old school style with contact paper and a pair of scissors. You could even use like a heat laminator and go through it like a couple of times, and that would be sturdier than what I did. But even with our low budget version, they're holding up fine. Even my kindergartner. So they do have to be gentler with it than if it were just like in a solid workbook or even spiral bound. I find that we have less issues than with the binder because pages would always get torn out of the binder or fingers would get pinched with the 3-ring, opening and closing. So I find that it's better than that, and they are more compact than the binders. I feel like it's a pretty good hybrid between binders and spiral. But I do think spiral would probably hold up a little better. We've never had like a disc pop off or like a book fall apart or anything, but occasionally as they're like flipping pages, they might, like a couple pages might start coming off from the bottom and you just have to pop it back down. If they try to like slide the book across the table, like pull it towards them, just holding the cover, like the bottom part of the cover might start popping off the discs. They do have to be more mindful of how they're handling their books, but they've seemed to adjust to it pretty quickly, and we're not really having any issues. I don't think that my 3-year-old could handle it though. I will say, like, we've kept stepping stones put together and we just work right out of the book. I don't take anything out of that. I think it was worth the investment. The punch was about $45, I think. And then I bought plastic discs, not the metal ones. So it's a little bit more affordable. And the value pack, I didn't care like what color. So it came with like 6 sets of 11 discs, which will give you like letter sized paper, and 6 of them in each. So I bought Classic and I bought Expander. And with all of that, we've been able to have plenty of books I have extra discs. Yeah, I think it's been really versatile. There's a lot that you could do more than just the homeschool world, but that's how we use it. We're liking it. I'm going to continue using it that way. It is like tedious though to set up the teacher guide for the beginning of the year, and then, you know, at the beginning of each quarter, getting all of it out and punching it and putting it in. I'm not going to say that it's like a walk in the park, but it does make my life easier. It's working well for my kids, and I like having one workbook that has everything all together for their independent subjects. That is worth it to me. I do, however, look forward to the day that I can just hand them the books as is and we don't have to do anything. We've tried that, and my kids have gotten overwhelmed with the size of the book. / also the books have been kind of trashed before. I've had a toddler spill a cup of water on the table and everybody's books are there and we're like, you know, so that's part of why I like to have smaller amounts of the curriculum actually in their hands before they need it. But when all of my kids are older, I don't foresee that being quite the problem that it is right now. So this is great if you've got young kids who need a little bit of help organizing their work. And I know this is always a big debate in, like, especially the master books community. Like, what do? Do you take your books apart? Do you leave them intact? Do you use binders? Do you use folders? Do you use spiral binding, discs, you know? So anyways, I just thought I'd share. I'd love to hear how you guys organize your curriculum. What do you do? Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Until next time, happy schooling.